Have you ever seen a person who is blind, or someone who uses a wheelchair or who can't hear and wanted to help but haven't known how? It can be awkward. As a poll worker, you have the opportunity to interact with many people. The National Organization on Disability reports that more than 54 million Americans have some type of limitation in the way they see, hear, talk, or move about. Many have a hidden disability or a limitation that can't be easily seen. In this program, you will learn how to interact and communicate with people who come to cast their vote. We will first learn how to interact with people who have difficulty walking or getting around. When you watch the following cartoon, notice the interaction between the two characters.
A turtle pushes a rabbit in a wheelchair fast down a sidewalk over stairs. Propelling rabbit into the air. Rabbit then lands hard back in wheelchair, dazed by the fall.
If you said that this is what you shouldn't do to welcome a voter who can't get around well, you are correct. First, we need to make sure there are clear and open pathways from in and out of the facility, registration desk, and polling areas. Second, the turtle could have actually hurt the rabbit instead of helping him. Listen to what Bill has to say about assisting people that have difficulty walking or getting around.
Well, when I come into a public place, I like to come and see. I like to check things out, see if it's easy, something that I can do myself, if it's accessible. When someone comes up and touches my wheelchair, I don't like anybody to invade my personal space. I like it when they ask me if there's anything I can assist you with. Just by them showing respect to me, they ask me first if they could assist me, if I need it. Is there anything I can do for you? Is there any assistance that you need? And that's showing respect. But then there's going to be times where I will need assistance, and then they will respect me for who I am, that I can do this. And so it makes it easier for me and for them.
What will you do if you see a voter that has difficulty getting around? See if your answers match with these guidelines. 1. Ask. Ask the person, "May I assist you?" If the person says yes, ask what you can do. 2. Listen. Pay attention to what the person is telling you so you know how to help. 3. Don't touch. If the person uses a walker, a cane, or a wheelchair, don't touch it without asking first. You could throw a person off balance and create a bigger problem. In this next segment, we talk about how to communicate with people who have difficulty hearing or speaking. Watch this next cartoon and notice what the octopus does to try to communicate better.
Octopus tries to talk to fish with hearing impairment. Octopus then speaks louder to no avail. Fish then floats away with puzzled look.
Did you notice the octopus just talked louder when he realized the fish didn't understand him? This cartoon shows a problem dealing with what some would call a hidden disability. Hidden disabilities are things we can't see and include speech or hearing impairments. People may not carry a cane, use a wheelchair, or even use a hearing aid, but they may have a limitation that requires a little extra time and patience to deal with. Oftentimes, simply repeating a phrase or instruction in a slower, clearer way will be all that it takes to get the message across. Don't be afraid to ask a person to speak slowly and clearly. If you still can't figure out what the person is saying, just ask them to write it down on a piece of paper. It's okay for them to ask the same of you. But be careful with this. A person may not be able to read or write. You don't want to cause further embarrassment for you or them. What happens if a person who is deaf uses an interpreter? See what Emily has to say about how to communicate with a person who has a hearing impairment.
I am hard of hearing. I wear hearing aids. I appreciate when people communicate with me, that they speak directly to me. I read lips from people speaking directly to me. If a person talks louder or yells at me when I am using my hearing aids, Their voice becomes extremely distorted.
After listening to Emily, what is the best way to communicate with people who are deaf or hard of hearing? Let's check your answers. 1. Watch. Watch the person to figure out the best way to communicate, speaking, writing, or gesturing. 2. Look at the person. Look at the person directly. He may need to read lips and see the expressions on your face to figure out what you are saying. If a person uses an interpreter, speak directly to the person you are talking to. There is no need to talk to the interpreter directly. 3. Speak slowly, calmly, and directly. Speak slowly, calmly, and directly to the person. This segment helps us figure out how best to communicate with people who don't see well or who are blind. As you watch this last cartoon, notice what the birds do with the dog.
Blind owl with guide dog walking along a tree branch is met by 3 pigeons that show and throw a bone for the guide dog. Owl searches for the guide dog and falls from the tree branch.
What you just saw is very common in everyday life, but it is exactly what not to do with a guide dog. A guide dog is a working animal and should be left alone. It should not be petted or played with. To do so could cause harm to the person who relies on the dog for guidance and assistance. A guide dog also represents an individual's personal space, just as a wheelchair or walker does. We need to be respectful of this space and not touch without permission. How would you help someone who is blind and does not have a guide dog? Let's see what Cassandra has to say.
They should introduce themselves and, tell a blind person who they are, and then offer their arm. Never grab someone by the elbow, the arm, the wrist. That's not the way to assist me.
Oh, I just wanted to show you where the booth is. It's right here. Right there. Okay, can you touch it and feel it there? Right
Ma'am,
there.
I did, but that's not the way to assist me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted help, so I just brought you right away.
Well,
Because I can see that you cannot see. I wanted to make sure that you know where to go.
Yeah, but please don't grab my cane.
Oh, okay.
I need to use my cane. Offer their arm, allow the blind person to take that arm, and then walk with them over to the voting booth or whatever. And then when they're ready to, when the sighted person needs to go away, tell the blind person that you're leaving, but that if they need any help, they can ask for it.
I'm going to leave and go back to the table, and if you need more help, then my name's Heather.
When someone who's blind is voting, it is definitely okay, and it is within the law for them to bring someone of their own choosing with them to serve as a reader in the voting booth.
That's here. Will that help you a little bit, Cassandra?
Yes. And they just read me the ballot, and I make the choices, and they mark them down. When a visually impaired person is voting, they may wish to use a magnifier. A blind person, when signing in, may wish to use a signature guide. And that's just a flat piece of plastic or metal with a hole cut out in the middle to fit the writing. And they just sign their name within that.
What guidelines should we remember when assisting voters who may be blind or who have visual impairments? 1. Leave the dog alone. Never pet or play with a guide dog. They are working. 2. Offer assistance. Tell the person who you are and offer assistance. Let them take your arm. 3. Verbally direct as you physically guide. As you guide a visually impaired person, talk him through the obstacles and tell him when you are leaving him. Our last segment helps us figure out how best to communicate with people who have cognitive disabilities and may have difficulty with thought processing or memory. This does not mean they are not capable, only that ample time is given to vote. How would you help someone who is cognitively disabled? Let's see what Jared has to say.
I'm handing a vote. I want them to me help. I'm glad if people affect me, treat me an adult. Another time, I need help in addressing about it success. That's on me to attest my vote. Help me understand the party success. I, my greenhorn, Joyce.
What guidelines should we remember for assisting a person with cognitive disabilities? 1. Allow extra time to ensure that directions are understood. 2. Keep instructions short and to the point. Rephrase the question if necessary. Be friendly, but not condescending. 3. Remember that an attendant may be required to assist the individual with cognitive disabilities in the poll. So what happens if you've done all you can to help a voter, but she is still not able to cast her vote? What if you've followed the guidelines in this video and still aren't sure how to help? On Election Day, you may call the Utah Disability Law Center's grievance hotline at 1-800-490-4871 or at 1-800-550-4182 TTY. Live operators will be available during poll place hours to answer questions and help you and voters with limitations to make the voting process as open and barrier-free as possible. You might even suggest that voters who are dissatisfied call the hotline to see what resources and help are available to them. The most important thing to remember is sensitivity and respect. It's common sense. You have an opportunity to help people be part of the democratic process that makes our country great. Thanks for making this opportunity open and welcoming to all.